God, you actually love my audio quality. Thank you. I keep telling everybody they don't need to buy a fucking SM7b, but nobody wants to listen to me. Everybody out here buying SM7Bs and don't even know why they're doing it. What's a dynamic mic I would recommend? Honestly, okay. Now that I have a little bit of a platform for it, I don't think that the SM7B is a bad mic. Like, obviously, it's a good mic. It is like, you know, as it's referred to, industry standard. But the way that microphone works, it's an industry standard, not in the sense of it's the best microphone and all the studios use it because it's the best microphone. You go to a recording studio, the SM7B is going to be one of many, many mics that studio is likely going to have. And a lot of people think that the SM7B is expensive. It's not. When you're comparing microphones, like, the SM7B is not expensive. This is my condenser mic, for example. This is my Gefell, and that mic is $1,100. So, it's not about the mic being expensive. That's actually relatively inexpensive for a microphone. But dynamics don't really get too expensive, even like the really higher up ones. And with the SM7B, it costs $400, and then it costs another upwards of, like, you need an interface, so another $150, and then another $100 on top of that, at least, unless you have a microphone, unless you have an interface or a preamp, which you're not going to have a preamp. If you have an interface that provides you with enough gain to actually drive that microphone, okay, then maybe you can get away with just using the microphone and an interface. But typically, you're going to get the microphone, you're going to get an interface, and you're going to get, because a lot of people are out here buying mixers, which is not what you should be buying. You're going to have something else. Also, thank you for the follow. I missed who it was. I'm sorry. You're going to have 3 components that are going to cost you over $600 just to use that microphone. And the problem with the SM7B isn't that it's a bad mic. I don't personally like it. Anytime I've ever used it for anything, it doesn't sound good on my voice. There's too much low end. It's too boomy. It's too muddy. It's very dark. It's not very clear and articulate, which is typical for dynamic mics. But that mic sounds like the dynamicest of mics. Like, how dynamic mics sound is like the SM7B is like a dynamic mic on crack, and it doesn't sound good on my voice. No matter what I do on it, a lot of people track, for example, in music, in heavier music, people a lot of times track screams with an SM7B. I fucking hate how I sound on an SM7B, so I don't use one. The problem is, that mic might be good for a lot of people, but it's not good for a lot of other people. And much like the Blue Yeti, which is a bad purchase because it's too expensive for what it is, and you're paying for way more features than you're using, so you're ultimately getting a worse mic for a higher price. The SM7B, I don't know when it started. Look, straight up, go on Google Trends and type in Shure. Actually, don't type in Shure. Just go on Google Trends and type in SM7B and look at the trend. It spikes. Over the last, year and a half, it spikes like insane. And this mic's been around since the 70s. The SM7 came out, I think, in the 70s. And then they made the 7B, which was the updated version, which is different, but it is still relatively a similar mic. Or at least it's supposed to be. And this mic's been around for decades and decades, and now all of a sudden, as of the last year and a half, it's the mic to get. It doesn't make any sense. For some reason, because I don't know if it started on Twitch or if it started on, really popular podcasts, but people started using the SM7B. People used to use, the RE20, which I don't. What's another mic I don't like? I don't like how the RE20 sounds, but it's another mic people use that a lot of higher up guys would use. But for some reason, the SM7B got really popular out of nowhere, and now, much like the Yeti, everyone is fucking buying it. And for some reason, they think the upgrade path is Blue Yeti and then SM7B, which those things make no sense, because an upgrade, going from a condenser and then moving to a dynamic with no understanding of the differences between those two mics, that's not an upgrade path. You're moving to a completely different sound. With mics that operate completely differently. And everybody that's out here buying the SM7B, sure, it's a quality mic, but they think that they're buying the SM7B for its quality. Professional studios don't buy the SM7b for its quality, because a professional studio is going to buy a quality mic, period. They buy the SM7b because it has a specific sound. The SM7b has a tonality that is very specific to the SM7b, and it sounds like an SM7b. And unless you know that you specifically want the sound of an SM7b, there isn't necessarily a reason to get an SM7b. There are a lot of other options, especially in that price range, especially cheaper than that. And people think that when they need a better mic, oh, gotta go out and get the 7B. That's the one to get. It's not. It's more nuanced than that. And people with no audio experience don't know this. And it's f***ing insane. So that was my SM7B rant. If you see me over here using ooh, there's a gnat. If you see me using a over $1,000 condenser and a $130 dynamic, it's not always about the price. It's the right tool. It's about using the right tool for the job. And your voice is very much a factor in that. Back to the original question, I was asked what a good dynamic mic is. There are two mics right now that I believe are very good for the price. And I have both of them, so hold on. There is this, the PreSonus PD70. It can be a little harsh on the high end. It's a little thin, but which is why I got this one. This is the Pulson MC Pod. Looks like this. And this is a $130 mic. This is an $80 mic. They both sound great. Now, when I listened to a comparison of them on YouTube, I had been using this one for a little bit. This one actually sounds more like a condenser than a dynamic. It's a little more articulate. It's clearer sounding. But, so when comparing them, I on this person's voice, I preferred the sound of the Pulson over the PD70. So I was like, oh, I already have the PD70. This mic's cheaper too. But you know what? Ultimately, like if I'll like it better, if it's a better sound, I'll buy another mic anyway. It's cheap. I went out and got this. And I tried them both out. And despite liking how this one sounded better on the person's video that I was watching, I actually like, and maybe it could also have to do with my setup, it could have to do with my preamp, everything else. But I like how this one sounds better on my voice. So now I'm not using this one. But especially if you're starting out, and not even just starting out, if you've been doing this for a long time and you're looking for a better mic, you're looking to upgrade or whatever, you don't, like, especially if you're on like a Yeti or some shit, like, both of these mics are great, and they're very inexpensive. Pulson MC Pod, PreSonus PD70. Great mics.